Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for showing up. I am so glad you're here. If you have ever had anxiety dealing with an ex or the awkward family situations after a divorce, when you feel like you were finally finished with marriage or you were finally finished with a relationship, and now you have to deal with family gatherings because of children and you don't want to offend anybody for not showing up. I don't know if you're like me, but I am an avoidant. For the fight or flight, I usually flight. I usually move or do something different or avoid the situation. And so when I have to go in a situation with a family gathering, I go inward and I go to my modalities that I've learned along the way throughout the last decades, things that I teach my clients about healing and being at peace inside. But last weekend, I was not at peace and I was fighting it in my body. I was like shaking so much. My lips were quivering on, and I don't know why, because I've seen him. We got divorced in my early 20s and I'm going to be 50 next month or 51 next month. So I don't know why this showed up unexpectedly. It was really weird. Like I had processed a lot of grief, a lot of trauma, a lot of things that had happened. You know, when we go through a divorce or when we go through a breakup, a lot of times what happens is we do or say things that we don't mean. You know, we're trying to heal. I was really young. I didn't even know who I was when I was 20 years old. I didn't even know like how to be an adult, let alone have meaningful, healthy, deep relationships because I had grown up with dysfunction. So if you can relate, stay tuned. I'm going to go live later and I'm going to share the exact technique that got me through it. And I was so surprised. So please stay tuned to the end. But like I said, we were driving down there and I used to live in this town. I lived there for 3 years and I was dating a guy that I was so in love with, and also going to a church community that I really, really, really admire. Like, I don't know if you've gone to church and you feel like there's a bunch of hypocrites around. You feel like you're being judged. Raise your hand if you've ever felt that way. But this was not like that. This church was welcoming. They made me feel like family. They included me. So when we broke up, I felt like I was losing family because I knew I couldn't stay there because I was so close to their family, and it was hard for me to be able to see his children and him and being so in love with him and leaving and going to church and facing that and not being able to be close to him anymore. And so it was a small town. And not only that, but my best friend of 26 years passed away, and my landlord said he was selling the condo that I was living in. So I just knew that God was telling me it was time to move. I didn't know where. So I decided to leave that town. Well, right now my daughter lives there. And so when we go to visit, I have to go back there and reminisce and see old things and be a part of experiences and places where we used to share those memories. And that was not the ex that was at the party. So the ex that was at the party was my daughter's father, who him and I had broken up. He was my first marriage. He broke up in my early 20s, like 30 years ago. And I had really processed a lot in my mind. But yet at the same time, it's like, to be, I feel like he's very arrogant. He's very full of himself. Everything was always about him. He wasn't very emotionally available. And I had moved far away from family and gotten very tied up into church, and church became the priority. And so our marriage shifted, our interests shifted. And unfortunately, the casualty were our children. And our children got impacted from that. And like I said, all of that's water under the bridge. I did a lot of healing. I've done a lot of work, and this is what I offer to the world. And one of the reasons is because of some of the strange relationships that I have in my life. And it's so hard grieving somebody who's still alive. Part of what's happened in my family and the family dynamics that I have is my daughter was upset with me because the decisions I made after I got divorced, because of the decisions I made from trying to seek love from outside of myself, from being a people pleaser, from being a codependent, from being trying to get love from the outside versus learning to love myself on the inside. And through all of that mix, I hurt those that I love the most. I hurt my daughter. And throughout the years, there has been conflict. There has been estranged relationships. I didn't meet the grandchild that I went to go celebrate this weekend until he was 5 months old. And there's a lot of dynamics that go into that. But that's where my grief stems from, is grieving people who are alive, grieving not being a part of those special moments when the babies were born, or being included in the baby showers, or being invited to the holiday get-togethers. And so that's why it means so much to me to be able to go now. But it felt so awkward being there because my ex was chosen. My ex and his wife were there when the babies were born. They got to meet my grandchildren when they were born, and I didn't. And so there's been a lot of internal anguish because of that. But all of that, like I said, is water under the bridge. And this is part of the reason why I help others who have gone through divorce, who have gone through major change, who have gone through breakup, who have gone through estranged relationships, who might not have the perfect cookie cutter family in their life, and single parents. And, I didn't know what I didn't know. We don't know what we don't know. And I didn't realize the 5 love languages. I didn't realize the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins teaches. I didn't realize that my need for love and affection wasn't being met by the people in my life. And so I sought those needs to be met in unhealthy ways, in unhealthy relationships. And unfortunately, throughout the years, the consequences of those decisions, because I was in fight or flight, because I was trying and striving to find a way in the world, and until I hit rock bottom, until I had been abused and hurt and in debt from all the money I gave to others, that I finally started giving to myself. And this is why I'm showing up today. This is why I'm sharing my message. This is why I keep sharing my message, because I'm hoping that someone out there, that if you feel are in rock bottom right now, or if you are in that situation where you have the awkward family dynamics, where you have the awkwardness, where you have done things that you regret out of survival, if you need a little bit of support, let's talk. Let's figure that out together. If you're grieving relationships and family and situations where you have people who are alive, or you're going through a major life crisis, life change, I'm here to help you rebuild with compassion. And I have to be honest, when my ex walked through that door last weekend in the birthday party, my whole body wanted to leave. I was fighting my body. I had to force myself to sit down and stay. I had to force myself to stay for my grandchildren. I had to force myself to stay for my daughter. And I had to push past that awkward feeling of anxiety. And the main reason is because I knew my head and my body were playing tricks on me. I knew that I was safe. And I knew that I was stable. And I knew that I was there not just for myself. I was there for my family, my daughter, my grandchild. So I had to shift focus. I had to shift focus onto my grandchildren and away from what I felt intimidated by, what I felt throughout the years, the pain, the loneliness, all the things that had happened throughout the decades with having a mixed family and raising children, co-parenting, and being completely opposite. I shifted my focus. I shifted my focus onto my grandchild and away from that. And I expanded my heart, my love. And I just focused on the love that I had for my grandchild, and I focused on his joy, and that got me through it. I'm going to go and do another video after this and share the exact technique on what exactly I did so that you can do this too when you're feeling awkward, when you're in awkward situations and you need something to help you get you through. And don't worry, you don't have to say anything. It's all within yourself. It's all within your spirit and your body. And I'm going to share that in a little bit. So go and watch that video, part 2 of this. Thank you for stopping by. If you're intrigued more about this story, or, check out some of my other videos about me. If you're intrigued, if you're struggling right now, you need a little bit of support through the holiday season, through the mixed families, mixed relationships, I'm here for you. Let's figure that out together. Chat soon.